I see all sides, right? I grew up with economic struggle, but I've also seen what's going on with the millionaires and the billionaires, and what they're also doing on the back end of this is they're writing really big checks to companies. And many of these companies actually, there's actually the creation of what they call zombie companies, and zombie companies are basically companies that are literally living off of government assistance. That they are the welfare queens of the new millennium, where basically these companies, should have been bankrupt. These companies can't even make a profit, but because they've made it so easy to get things like PPP loans and government grants, these companies literally are getting massive checks. And so there are people, there are a lot of people out here that are actually doing better during the pandemic than they were doing before the pandemic. So, this is the thing I want you to kind of process here. This is for strategic-minded people who want to understand how the game is played, both above the rim and below the rim. There are people who profit from things like this. Rahm Emanuel, who was Barack Obama's chief of staff, former mayor of Chicago, he had a saying that said, "Never waste a good crisis," or "Never let a good crisis go to waste." It was something like that. And basically what it says is that when there's a so-called crisis, or even if it's artificially created, a lot of money gets released during that crisis. A lot of economic medicine gets distributed very wildly, very broadly, kind of in an insane way. And what happens is those who position themselves in certain ways actually benefit from the crisis. For example, on a global scale, China, ironically, China, the country where the virus originated, and I do believe I've taken all information. If somebody said we have proof that China created this whole situation, I wouldn't doubt that, because I know how China rolls. I have tremendous admiration for China. I have tremendous fear of China. I have tremendous concern about China. I have tremendous disdain for China. I have tremendous love for China. I went to China a year and a half ago. I documented the whole trip to you guys because I was showing you guys on video how in China the entrepreneurs practice powernomics principles that Black people can learn from, right? So China is a country for whom I have mixed emotions because it's a complex society. So China, that government does not play. They are the most gangster government in the world. And so I don't doubt for a second that there's proof that China pushed all this stuff through so that they could put themselves in a better economic position. It is not a coincidence that the only major country on earth that had growth in their economy this year is China. Everybody else shrank, right? So now they're taller because everybody else is shorter. And so the other thing is that it's also not a coincidence, in my opinion, that after this stuff is done, China will likely surpass the United States in the size of their economy. Their economy is going to pass our economy probably about 2 decades ahead of schedule, because when that thing happened, we shut down. They kept it moving. They kept moving. I believe that they lied about their numbers. I don't believe that they had, they're like, oh, we have no cases now. But you're like, wait a minute, you had 100,000 cases 2 weeks ago. You got 0 now? Yeah, we have 0, right? I believe that they said, we're not going to tell y'all nothing. We're going to handle this internally, but we're going to keep it moving because 99.9% of our people are going to be just fine. That 0.1%, that 1 in 1,000, we're going to deal with that internally, but we're going to keep our economy moving. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm not saying that we are just, doing everything wrong, but I'm going to say this. When you have an economic engine and a political engine that's as big and as powerful as the United States, and you got as much fighting happening as you're seeing in this country, it's literally like driving an 18-wheeler semi down the road and 3 people are fighting for control of the steering wheel. 3 people are in this 18-wheeler going 100 miles an hour down the road, and they're fighting over this.
So I see Elevate almost like mental exercises. It's like taking your brain to the gym.
Steering wheel. What do you think is going to happen if they keep fighting over the steering wheel? That sucker's going to crash. It's going to crash. Whereas China is like is basically like 3 people that are driving an 18-wheeler down the freeway, and one person puts a gun to the head of the other 2 and says, "I'm driving this truck, whether you like it or not." Well, is that fair? No, it's not fair. Is that democratic? No, it's not democratic. But is that 18-wheeler less likely to crash? Yeah, it is, because you got one driver. The United States has multiple drivers. Democrats and Republicans are fighting so much that nothing is getting done. There is no clarity. There's nothing but uncertainty. There's nothing but insecurity. And one thing I can tell you with complete certainty is from economic theory, I can show you mathematical equations that will show you that when you have increased amounts of uncertainty, the value of your economic assets will drop.